You're about to watch a live stream from our Facebook group. It's a club where we pretty much just talk about board games all day long. Usually I'll live stream at least once a day, and everyone's invited. It's free, obviously. So if you're interested in coming to hang out with us, click the link in the description below. Hope to see you there. So this morning I posted about the game Diplomacy to see if people were interested in playing. I've been playing Diplomacy for so many years, I guess probably about 4 years or so, that I forget that people might not know what it is. Um, Pretty much it's a game from like 1950 or 1960, and it's a long-term strategy game that like generals would play and presidents. I know JFK was a big fan of the game, and Eisenhower. It's like has a very rich pedigree, um, and it's very intimidating because it takes a long time to play. If you're playing in person, it's like 7 hours. If you play over the internet, which makes a lot more sense, you could do your moves. You could do like one move every 12 hours or every day, so you don't doesn't take over your life too much. Then it takes maybe like 3 weeks to play, something like that. But which sounds intimidating, but trust me, it's a lot of fun. Very emotional game, very cool game. So I'm just gonna hop in and show you the basics of it. So this is a map from the website Play Diplomacy, and there are a bunch of different websites you can play on. It's definitely best to play online because it calculates all the moves for you and figures out how to resolve them, which is really difficult. And sorry, this is a little blurry, but the particular page I'm using is I'm going to be able to show you a series of moves, and it's kind of small. I had to scale it up to fit the screen, so I apologize for that. But as you can see in the top left corner, sorry, I'm not pointing the right way. It starts in winter 1900, and there are three seasons in diplomacy. There's fall, spring, and winter, and actually spring, fall, then winter. And what happens is you do moves in spring, and then they're resolved, and then you do a move for all your troops in fall, and it's resolved, and then in winter is when you build. And if you look on the map, you'll see a bunch of countries that have stars on them, like Moscow, Paris, London. Some of them are kind of covered up. And then you see some countries that have stars on them that don't have anyone on them yet. Like if you look around the the Black Sea, Romania, Bulgaria, all around the Balkans, Greece, and anywhere that doesn't have anyone on it, those are up for grabs. So these stars are supply centers. And to win the game, you need to have one more than half of all of them in the game, which I believe is 18. And everyone starts with either three or four. So it takes a really long time. You basically have to cover half the board to win. So you have to wipe out several of your guys, several opponents. Um, and that's the gist of the game. So I guess the difference in diplomacy from other games is that there's no chance, and you can only have one unit on any particular country. So, for instance, if you look, I mean, everybody know, let's say England, right? You see on England, there's London, there's a boat on there. Boats or fleets, they're called in the game. They can go out to sea and they can also land on shorelines, and there can only be one there. So you can't have two boats on London. You can't have an army, which is represented by a tank here, in addition to a fleet. You can only have one or the other. So that creates the weird combat dynamic in diplomacy, where um, you need what you need to do is you can't have two guys from the same country attack another country and beat it. You need to have two guys on two separate countries. One attacks the country and the other one supports the other guy to attack, and then you would win. Otherwise, if it's one army, let's say, attacks another army, it just bounces off. It's a stalemate. And that'll happen a lot in diplomacy unless you can convince some of your allies to help you out. And that's why it's called diplomacy, because you can't just smash through like you can in Risk. You need, especially at first, you need people to help you. And so there's a lot of negotiation. It's like, well, why should I help you? What am I going to get out of this? What can you give me? Or what will you support me to do next year or in 2 years or whatever? Um, and naturally, because you want to win the game, you're going to have to attack people that were once your friends. It's almost impossible to just stay allies with the same person all game. unless it ends in a stalemate, which isn't fun. So I'm just going to take you through a few turns here so you can see what it looks like. So if you see in the top left, it's winter 1900. That's how the game starts out. And then, so this particular, okay, so that doesn't look good on here. But you can read it. It says spring 1901. And you can see here the moves that these people put in. And this is just some random game I was watching on Play Diplomacy. And you can't see the listing of the moves, but the arrows kind of tell you. So let's start with England. So there was a fleet in Edinburgh, and they went out to the North Sea. No problem. They weren't bounced, meaning no one else tried to go there, and then nothing happened. Looks like the army in Liverpool went south to whatever country that is, Wales or something. And London, you see that orange line, it means it tried to go, it looks like it tried to go to the North Sea as well. Let me see. Oh, London tried to move to Belgium. Okay, that doesn't make sense. So obviously, ships can't teleport. So it tried to go to Belgium. So this is probably a new player, because to get to Belgium, they would have had to go to the sea. They could have gone to the English Channel. They probably should have, but they didn't. And then in France, you see the army in Paris went up to Picardy, and the fleet in Brest went to Gascony, and their army in Marseille went to Spain. Now, if you look at France, their army in Spain, if it just stays there, or if it goes to Portugal and ends their turn in the fall, if they just stay put, then in the winter they'll take over Spain, and then they'll get another build. So that means they could build a new unit, either an army or a fleet, in either Marseille, Paris, or Brest. So you have to build in your 3 starting countries, or 4. Russia has 4. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to take you through a few turns here. I'm not going to say what everybody does, but I'll just say generally, it looks like England just doesn't, maybe it's their first game, they don't know what they're doing. France is going aggressively after Belgium. It looks like Germany is also going aggressively towards Belgium. And so if you look at Belgium, that's one of those countries that is highly contentious in this game, because 3 countries sort of have a claim on it. They could all get there in 2 moves. England, Germany, and France could all get there in 2 moves. And right now, Germany can support itself into Belgium, right? It could take that army in Ruhr and go to Belgium with support from that fleet right next to it. So this would be a good time for France and England to talk about that and say, well, wait a minute, we don't want that to happen. Maybe one of us should support the other one into there to keep Germany out, because we don't want them to grow too much. Then if we look at Russia, Russia is a very big country. It starts with 4 units, which seems kind of good, but they're also a big target, because a lot of different countries want to pick pieces off of Russia to help themselves grow. Looks like Italy didn't do anything, so either another new player or someone who just lost interest and forgot to set their moves. And Austria is just moving out. Very, very interesting pick. A lot of times Austria goes down into Serbia, and looks like Russia and Turkey bounced each other in the Black Sea. You see, they both tried to go to the Black Sea. That's what that orange line means. And they just bounced off each other, so nobody went to the Black Sea. So I'm just going to go through a few more and talk about the sort of the themes of what's going on in the game. So it looks like Germany did get Belgium. That's exciting. England got its act together. It's fall 1901 now, and so they're in the English Channel. And now France went to the wrong coast in Spain. So there are a lot of rules. Really, France had to go to the north coast here because the fleet can't teleport to the Western Mediterranean Sea. Italy didn't do anything. Looks like Austria is playing very aggressively, and Turkey is playing very aggressively going into the Balkans. So this is a really interesting game. It seems like nobody's really allying with anybody. This is just a free-for-all. This is not a typical game of diplomacy. And so we see here in the fall, or really the winter of 1901, that's when everybody builds. So it looks like Germany got 2 builds. France got 1. It looks like Turkey got 2. And I think it's like Austria got 3. I think 3. But they didn't, they left their 1 fleet in Trieste. Russia's not doing too well. He's got an Austrian guy in Warsaw. And so if we just go to the next few rounds, so now we're in the spring again, and Germany and France are at it. Germany's really trying to aggressively get into France. England still doesn't seem to have any idea what they're doing. And just a lot of action with in the Balkans. Let's go a little bit further. Fall 1902, a lot more bouncing in and around France and Germany. Austria, wow, something very interesting. Looks like it somehow got into Italy, and Austria is taking Tunis, which I guess they know if Italy's not doing anything, then Austria is just going to gobble up Italy's countries. So it looks like here actually Austria and Turkey struck some sort of alliance, and they're working together, which is really interesting. You don't see that alliance very often. I think that's about the end of it. Here, people are retreating and building, and it doesn't look like Austria built. Doesn't look like anybody built yet. So maybe that's just, yeah, okay. So I guess they just either didn't get a chance to build or what. Armenia destroyed, yeah. So anyway, this is diplomacy, and these 2 years in diplomacy probably took place over the course of maybe a week or so, 5 days, something like that, depending if they're doing one move or two moves per day. And so how it works is you do all your moves at once for all your troops. So all your armies, all your fleets, they each get one move. They could either move somewhere or they could support another piece into another place. And that's about it. Everybody has to do one move and everything's resolved at the same time. And if anybody bounces into each other, whoever has more support wins. Or if nobody has enough support, then they just bounce and everybody stays in place. So it is a little complicated to resolve all these moves happening at the same time, but that's why it's good to do it online because it just kind of figures it all out for you. But what I posted out about earlier is because it is kind of an intimidating game to start out, it would be cool to have little councils. So let's say like 2 or 3 people that represent England, and then over here you got 3 people that represent Russia, and this way they could talk and communicate and figure out their strategies and make sure that they never have a stupid move where they try to go from London to Belgium, which doesn't make any sense. When you have more heads and then more people negotiating, I think that would be really interesting. So later on, if we get more people that want to do this, we probably need, to do my dream, we probably need like 14 people or so, at least 14 to 20. So we'll see as time goes on. And if there's the interest, we'll do it. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions about diplomacy, let me know, and talk to you soon.